Okay, in your perspective packet, you're going to be doing some practices. So for the first practice, we're going to start with 1-point perspective shapes. We're going to be working in this drawing space down here. The first thing you do when you work with 1-point perspective is you have to establish your horizon line. So to do that, we have to measure our box and see, and we are at 7.5, so we would need 3.75 for our halfway point. So if I find the 3-inch mark, and then I go to the halfway point between the 3 and the 4-inch, then I go halfway between that for 3 3/4. And I measure the same thing on the other side of my paper. I measure down to 3 3/4. And then I'm going to connect that area with a horizontal line. Okay. So this right here that I just drew, that is my horizon line. Next I need to find my vanishing point. My vanishing point will be halfway on the horizon line for this practice. So I'm going to use the same measurement, 3 3/4 or 3.75. I'm going to put a dot there. You can also label it VP for vanishing point. That helps. HL for horizon line. So if it helps you remember the different vocabulary, go ahead and write that down. The first thing we're going to start with, we're going to go ahead and draw a house to the right. So I'm going to start with just a square. You can use the horizon line as part of your square if you would like. So I'm going to draw down about 1.5 inches, and then I'm going to draw over. Now I'm checking my ruler to see that it's parallel to my horizon line and to my edge of my art space, and then again line it up, draw another 1.5 inches, and then I need to create a triangle to the top, so I find the halfway point, which would be 0.75. I draw up however tall I want it to be. I'm going to make this like that, and then I'm going to connect from the top of that mark to each of the corners. So basically you're drawing a triangle and a square together to create the front of your house. And we're not going to be able to see the horizon line in it, so I'm going to go ahead and erase. So I just have the front shape of my house there. So then you might remember this from art explorations. So step 1, draw the horizon line. Step 2, draw the vanishing point. Step 3 was draw the part of the object that faces you. And so that's what we did here. We drew the front of the house that faced us. The next step that you're going to do is what I call the corner check step. So we're going to take and check every corner of this house and see if we can connect to our vanishing point without running through something. So right here, if I start at the top of the roof, I can see that I can connect from my vanishing point to the top of the roof without running into anything, so I'm going to go ahead and add the line. This corner here is already connected because we drew it on the horizon line. I go down to the bottom left corner of the house. I can see I can connect it, so I go ahead and draw the line. Now this corner here, if I were to try and connect from the bottom right corner of the house to the vanishing point, I would draw through my house, so I'm going to skip that point. Then I move to this corner here. Same thing. If I were to draw from this one, I would go through my house, and I don't want that. So now we have the dimension of our house. We need to end the dimension. Our house doesn't go on to infinity, so we need to add some lines to stop the house. And how you do that is by adding parallel lines to the existing front of your object. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to line up my ruler with the left side of my house. I'm going to move it out however far I want my house to be. So I want my house to go maybe this far back. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a vertical line. Notice I stop it when I get to that horizon line. So here are my 2 lines of convergence for that side. And then I can take, and I no longer see the rest of this part of the house. Now this line I'm going to leave because that's my horizon line. Next I line up my ruler with the top of my roof, and I'm going to slide it, trying to keep it parallel to that line until I reach the line that I just drew. Then I'm going to go ahead and add the slant there, and that stops the back of the roof of my house, and I erase where my line continues on to the vanishing point. So this is my house. If I wanted to, I could take some time to draw a door, I could take some time to add some windows. Completely up to you if you want to do anything like that. But you do need to have the shape of the house with some dimension. The next thing we're going to look at is we're going to look at a pointed object. We're going to start with a star. So if the star is too complicated, you could choose to do a diamond, a triangle, something up here in the top left quadrant. But when I draw a star, I start with the top of a triangle, and then I create a diagonal line across, a straight horizontal line across, and then a diagonal line to connect it. And then I go ahead and I erase my extra lines in the middle. And that gives me a general star shape to work with. So we have our horizon line, we have our vanishing point, that's step 1 and step 2. Now we have the part of the object that is facing us. So that leads us to step 4, where we do our corner check. Okay, so I'm going to just pick the corner closest to my vanishing point. I ask myself, can I connect from here to my vanishing point without running into anything? Yes, I can, so I go ahead and I draw my line. Here's my next corner, so I line it up. Yes, I can. Then I go to this corner, I check to see if it can line up with my vanishing point. It can, so I go ahead and draw it. I go ahead and check this corner. I can't. It would run just right on the line that I already have there, so I'm going to skip it. Then I go to my next corner here, and I check. Yes, I can connect from there to the vanishing point. I go to this corner. Nope. If I connected, I would go through my star, and I don't want to do that. Here, from this corner, I'm going to have a very, very thin dimension, so I go ahead and add that. This corner here, I can't. I would go through my star. This corner here, I can, so I line it up, and I go ahead and add it. But this time, when I run into my star, I stop my line, because this part of my star hides the dimension that would continue on to my vanishing point. So now that I have my dimension lines, we go to the next step, step 5, where we stop our dimension lines. Now remember, to do this, you add parallel lines to the original front of your object. So again, I line up my ruler here with my star. I decide how far out I want it to go. So I'm going to draw a line right here. This line is parallel here, but I can also add one right here that's parallel to this area. And that means any lines beyond there would stop. So I can go ahead and erase those lines here. Now I need to add a line that's parallel right here. So I go ahead and bring this on up. There's the parallel line there. That doesn't look right. Sorry about that. It actually needs to be connecting, instead of connecting here, it needs to be connecting right there. So I'm going to line it up there again. So there we go. Now this part is coming out further, which it's supposed to, so I can get rid of my lines of convergence past that. And there we have our star in 1-point perspective. So we're going to do one final shape. I want you to experience what it's like to draw a shape with curves. So down here in the bottom left quadrant, I want you to go ahead and draw a heart shape. Okay, so when you have a heart, you have some corners. So this corner here I can't connect because it would run through my shape. And if I check this one here, nope, can't connect, it would run through my shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to find the outer edge. So I place my ruler so it's in the middle. I put my pencil on my vanishing point, and I rotate my ruler till I find the outsidemost edge, and then I draw a line connecting to it. I'm going to do the same thing for the top of the heart. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate it here, and there's the top of the heart. Now this one, I know we said we can't connect it. We're going to go ahead and draw the line there just to help us recreate the shape of the heart. So now we need to create this part of our curve that comes down and connects, and then we have to repeat this part of our curve here. And once you have those two curves, then you can get rid of your lines of convergence. And there you have a heart in 1-point perspective.